among peers, those to your right and your left. Diverse but united in endeavour to make this world a better place. You, who aspire to the highest quality in education and understanding, now stand with queens and princes and icons, kings in London.
Today, the song marks the beginning of a conversation, the beginning of a journey.
It is our deeds that define us. So set ambition as standard and humility as reward. For your passion and words vanish on a breath.
You are definitely part of a community at King's, which is really special.
But the actions they provoke, well, they will be recognised.
Congratulations to everybody involved in this tremendous achievement.
Recruit and build leaders. Empower the person who leans on your shoulder.
My time at King's was really integral to my career success.
Equally with those you are yet to share a drink.
I need to hear that something has changed in the way they see the world.
Clean water and sanitation in schools is not a given. Who else wants to change that?
Persevere like rowers on the silhouette of dawn, trusting your fellow to push the limits of optimism.
Great Britain paddling to the line.
An Olympic gold medal.
Stay connected. We need you to enlighten us with fresh ideas, to exchange advice, our thoughts embraced, contributed.
It's a perfect opportunity to be a black actor, or basically a British actor out there at the moment.
We all have a duty, a service to society. As an individual, you can inspire.
There is a kind of self-authenticating reward in doing that which is good.
But together, we can make a change.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. The opening address will now be given by the Senior Vice President of King's College London, Professor Richard Trembath.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, friends who have come together this afternoon here to celebrate and applaud the wonderful graduates. It's my honour and privilege to welcome you to this, our graduation ceremony for King's College London. Graduation really is a wonderful moment. It's a time for reflection, celebration, and rightly tribute. A time to reflect upon the journey of learning that has brought you to this moment. A time to celebrate your many years of hard work, the sleepless nights, the burning of midnight oil that is now at last borne fruit. And it is a time indeed to pay tribute to your determination and the focus that you have demonstrated in forging your path to this afternoon. Now, since its founding almost 2 centuries ago, what has defined and distinguished King's is that we seek the pursuit of knowledge with excellence, but also the pursuit of knowledge with purpose. At our core is a belief that the privilege of knowledge comes with a responsibility to serve, to use that knowledge to make a meaningful impact upon society. And that spirit is alive and well even now at King's. And we continue to use the vehicle of this university in and through research and education to make the world a better place. If I may offer a few recent examples. Our chemists have discovered new and rapid methods whereby we can produce novel antibiotics in the fight against antimicrobial resistance. Our researchers are developing so-called smart drugs, drugs capable of aiding not only the treatment, but indeed the initial diagnosis of the most aggressive forms of cancer. And we're championing the evolution of responsible AI, artificial intelligence, and conducting pioneering research using this in veterans with mental health challenges. And we're particularly proud that in June of this year, King's was ranked in the top 2% of global universities for the scale of our social and environmental impact. Now, while you are becoming graduates of King's College London, I know that for many of you, your natural home with us has been your faculty, your school, or indeed the department within which you have functioned. For all of you, the faculty home has been the Institute of Psychiatry, Psychology, and Neuroscience. And here again, there have been some remarkable achievements throughout the year. Innovative digital health technologies developed at the Institute have now been recommended by the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence as an option in the treatment of, within the NHS for the treatment of adults and young people with psychosis. My colleague, Professor Steve Williams, who holds the role of head of our Centre for Neuroimaging Sciences, has led on an international research initiative that has introduced non-invasive, low-cost, portable, so-called MRI, magnetic resonance imaging, into the sub-Saharan Africa and South Asian nations. These mobile plug-in machines can complete a brain scan in minutes and are designed to be used even in the most challenging of settings. And a collaboration more locally between IOPPN and our Mental Health Trust, South London and the Maudsley, and indeed our Health Innovation Network, South London, have developed a new suite of online learning resources to support eating disorder professionals to understand the issues, the risks and opportunities involved in age-related service transitions. And so the degree you receive today is not just a license to pursue a career. It is a passport that will enable you to follow your passion, a passion with purpose. It is you, as graduates of KCL, who we, the wider community, look to with hope and inspiration to deliver a more equitable and sustainable future for us all. Now, of course, this exciting future would not have been possible without your dedicated teachers and tutors, many of whom are here with me on stage today. Our wonderful staff who make King's education amongst the finest in the world. And I would also like to add my special thanks, not only to all of them, but also to those from outside of King's, your friends, families, and particularly those who are here with you today and who have supported you on your journey to graduation. So would you take a moment to join me in a round of applause by way of thanks to them all. So this is a very special day and an important opportunity to celebrate another amazing year of achievements, not only by our staff, but our students and indeed alumni. As we send you out into the wider world, we do so safe in the knowledge that we have equipped you with the skills to succeed and the courage to drive change. We know that through your time at King's, you will have discovered new and many varied passions and commitments, and we wish that you uphold and engage in these. In addition, you will have found a community of new friends of which you will be forever a part. So as you head to the shores beyond, may I invite you to take with you a quote from one of King's most notable alumni, the Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who said, "Do your little bit of good just where you are. It's those little bits of good, when put together, that overwhelm the world." So my heartfelt congratulations to you all. The entire King's community looks forward with confidence and eager anticipation to the accomplishments of your future. Thank you.
Students from the Institute of Psychiatry, Psychology and Neuroscience will now be presented by the Deputy Head of Department of Psychology, Professor Michael Aitken-Deacon.
The college has a multitude of prizes and awards, and of these, the Jelf Medal is the most prestigious since it recognises not only high academic achievement, but also achievement in the sporting and or social fields. And the award commemorates the Reverend Richard Jelf, principal of the college from 1844 to 1868. And having successfully completed the course of study for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Neuroscience and Psychology, the Institute of Psychiatry, Psychology and Neuroscience Jelf Medal is awarded to Falajimi Zainab Alwyn Riwaju. Senior Vice President, Executive Dean, it is my honour to present to you the following students. For the Doctor in Clinical Psychology, for a thesis entitled Risk Factors Associated with IQ and Adaptive Behaviour Functioning in a South African Cohort, Emily Chow. For a thesis entitled Feasibility of a Psychoeducational Group Intervention to Improve Parental Reflective Functioning and Bonding in Prenatal Depression, Rebecca Coburn. For a thesis entitled An Investigation into the Safety, Acceptability and Feasibility of a Brief Compassion-Focused Intervention for People Who Experienced Distressing Mood Swings, a Case Series, Thomas Mossé. For a thesis entitled Emotional Mental Imagery in Clinical Psychology, an implementation study of an imagery-based intervention for adolescent depression and review of psychometric properties of imagery measures, Stephen McIntyre. For a thesis entitled An Investigation into the Psychological Mechanisms Influencing the Relationship Between Lifetime Experience of Gendered Racial Microaggressions and Mental Health in a Sample of Black British Women, Clarissa Mary Odway. For a thesis entitled Psychometric Validation of a Self-Report Continuous Rating Version of the Psychotic Symptoms Rating Scales, CIRAT, Accounting for Multisensory and Multimodal Hallucinations, Wai-Feng Tsang. And now, for the Doctor of Medicine, Research in Psychiatry, for a thesis entitled The Response of Mental Health Professionals to Domestic Abuse Perpetration by People Under the Care of Mental Health Services, Marilia Amaro Calchia. Doctor of Philosophy in Addiction Sciences, for a thesis entitled An Investigation into the Prevalence, Use Characteristics and Toxicant Exposure of Vaping, Smoking or Doing Neither, with a particular focus on people with mental health conditions, Eve Taylor. And for the Doctor of Philosophy in Child Psychiatry, for a thesis entitled ADHD, Delay Aversion and Waiting Behaviour in Preschool Children, Family and Cultural Processes, Wing Ying Wendy Chan. And for the Doctor of Philosophy in Clinical Neuroscience, for a thesis entitled From Hospital to Home, the Application of e-health Solutions for Monitoring and Management of People with Epilepsy, Andrea Biondi. For a thesis entitled Diagnostic Value of Combined TMS and EEG in Epilepsy, Maria Angeles Lazaro Villagrasa. For a thesis entitled Developing a Gene Therapy Strategy to Knock Down Mutant C9orf72 Using Viral Vectors, Keith Mail. And now for the Doctor of Philosophy in Cognitive Neuroscience, for a thesis entitled The Cognitive Processes and Neural Basis of Subjective Experience Within Memory Recall and Future Thinking, Andrea Zaman. Doctor of Philosophy in Developmental Neuroscience, for a thesis entitled An Investigation into the Neurodevelopmental Profile of Infants and Children with Chronic Liver Disease, Megan Earle. And for a thesis entitled A Lifespan Perspective on Brain Behavioural Heterogeneity Following Very Preterm Birth, Layla Hadaya. For a thesis entitled Mapping the Emergence of Subcellular Balance Between Excitatory and Inhibitory Synapses Along Dendrites, Sally Grace Horton. And for a thesis entitled The Role of NRXN1-alpha in Synapse Function and Cortical Excitation Inhibition Balance, Martina Parnashayuk. And for the Doctor of Philosophy in Epidemiological Psychiatry, for a thesis entitled Bullying, Coping and Self-Harm, Exploring Cross-Sectional and Longitudinal Associations Among Adolescents from Diverse Urban Populations, and also awarded the Associateship of King's College, Emma Wilson-Lemoine. And for the Doctor of Philosophy in Forensic Neuroscience, for a thesis entitled Aggression in Mouse Models of Autism Spectrum Disorder, the Effects of Mutations in NRXN1-alpha and NLGN3 Genes, Alexandra Alia Hertz. For the Doctor of Philosophy in Forensic Psychiatry, for a thesis entitled The Validity and Reliability of the START Short-Term Assessment of Risk and Treatability in the Thai Forensic Psychiatric Population, Weerapong Sanmontri. For the Doctor of Philosophy in Health Informatics, for a thesis entitled Ascertaining Pain in Mental Health Records, Combining Empirical and Knowledge-Based Methods for Clinical Modelling of Electronic Health Record Text, Julia Chaturwaidi. Doctor of Philosophy in Health Service and Population Research, for a thesis entitled Strengthening Leadership by Health Professionals in Sub-Saharan Africa, Oliver Johnson. For a thesis entitled The Concept and Determinants of Return on Investment from Quality Improvement in Mental Health Organisations, Sathembili Thusuni. For a thesis entitled Providing More Integrated Care for Adults with Type 2 Diabetes mellitus and Severe Mental Illness, Elizabeth Tudor. And now the Doctor of Philosophy in Neuroimaging, for a thesis entitled The Effects of Iron and Inflammation on Alzheimer's Disease, Manal Saud Al-Juani. For a thesis entitled The Entrepreneurial State of Mind, a Neuroscientific Perspective, Emily Ann Clements. For a thesis entitled Neural Circuitry of Acoustic Startle Habituation and Pre-Pulse Inhibition in the Context of Sex Steroid Hormones Using Innovative Silent Functional MRA and Electromyography Techniques, Laura Felicity Naismith. And for a thesis entitled Advanced Clinical and Quantitative MRA in Pediatric Focal Epilepsy, Katie Vecchiato. For the Doctor of Philosophy in Neuroscience, for a thesis entitled Investigation of Regional and Alzheimer's Disease-Driven Glycobiological Changes within the Cortex and Cerebellum, Microglia and Neuronal Functional Implications, and also awarded the Associateship of King's College, Ivo Anthony Carre. And for a thesis entitled Characterization and Modulation of Mutant ARPP21 Aggression in ALS, Gabriella Rose Clark. And for a thesis entitled Investigating the Refinement of Rodent Chronic Pain Models and Brainstem Control of Pain Processing, Francesca Di Domenico. And for a thesis entitled Neonatal Functional Brain Network, Centrality, Topology and Dynamics, Sunniva Fenmoltu. And for a thesis entitled From Stress to Depression, Modelling the Effects of Cortisol and Inflammation on Neuronal Progenitors and Microglia in Vitro, Juliette Jacobi. And for a thesis entitled Investigating the Role of Presynaptic Tau in Aging and Disease, Emily Elizabeth Groves. And for a thesis entitled Pain in Parkinson's Disease, Towards Improved Recognition and Delivery of Precision Pain Medicine in Clinical Practice, Katerina Rukavina. And for a thesis entitled The Role of Karyophorine Abnormalities in the Onset and Progression of Cyclonucleopathies, Nucleopathies even, Daulet Shapirov. For a thesis entitled A Zebrafish Reverse Genetic Approach to Validate Candidate Risk Genes for Major Depressive Disorder, Olivia Simmons. For a thesis entitled Mechanisms of Cancer-Induced Bone Pain in Rodent Models of Disease Progression and Regression, Diego Valiente Cerro. And for a thesis entitled Cell Types Along the Core Axis of the Larval Zebrafish Optic Tectum, Rachel Cherise Hyacinth Williams. And for a thesis entitled Examining the In Utero Development of Brain Structure with Fetal MRI, acquired as part of the Developing Human Connectome project, Sean Wilson. And now for the Doctor of Philosophy in Old Age Psychiatry, for a thesis entitled Anticholinergics, Antipsychotics and Associated Risks in Dementia, Seeking to Improve the Safety of Prescribing, Delia Bishara. And for the Doctor of Philosophy in Psychological Medicine, for a thesis entitled The Impact of Early Life Adversity on Immune Function, Internalizing Symptoms, Self-Harm Behaviors and Suicidality in Adolescence, Pei Rong Chen. And for a thesis entitled How Do Resilient Communities Protect People with Severe Mental Illnesses from Death, Dion Susanna Laporte. And for a thesis entitled A Neuroimaging Investigation of Bipolar Disorder and the Neurocognitive Effects of 5-HT7 Antagonists, Ziyi Li. And for a thesis entitled Mixed Methods Evaluation of a Novel Clinical Pathway for People with Co-Occurring Eating Disorders and Autism, Zhou Li. And for a thesis entitled Translational Studies in Major Depressive Disorder, MDD, From Clinical Phenotypes to Immunopsychiatry, Luca Schwarzini. And for a thesis entitled Cognitive Processing, Depression and Mortality in Parkinson's Disease, Exploring Zoonotic Links with Reference to Helicobacter Species, Wenjing Wang. And for a thesis entitled Protecting Wellbeing of Parents and Children During a Pandemic, Lisa Woodland. And now for the Doctor of Philosophy in Psychology, for a thesis entitled Multifamily Therapy for Adolescents with Anorexia Nervosa and Related Restrictive Eating Disorders, a Multi-Method Investigation, and also awarded the Associateship of King's College, Julian Scott Baldney. And for a thesis entitled Persistent Physical Symptoms in Inflammatory Arthritis, Redefining and Exploring Refractory Disease, Hema Chaplin. And for a thesis entitled Imagine a Brighter Future, the Role of Future Mental Imagery in Adolescent Depression and Using Positive Mental Imagery to Target Anhedonia, Taryn Hutchinson. And for a thesis entitled Examining the Comorbidity Between Adolescent Depression and Anxiety, Networks, Developmental Relationships and Biopsychosocial Factors, Dennis Konach. And for a thesis entitled Investigating and Improving Access to Mental Health Services Amongst Filipino Migrants in the United Kingdom, Andrea Martinez. And for a thesis entitled Black University Students' Mental Health and Coping Strategies whilst Navigating Racism in UK Educational Institutions, a Life Course Perspective, Nikasi Stoll. And now for the Doctor of Philosophy in Social Epidemiology, for a thesis entitled Inequalities in Common Mental Disorders and Treatment Receipt for People from Minoritized Racial and Ethnic Backgrounds in England, a Mixed Method Study, Gaji Ahmad. And for a thesis entitled Self-Harm in Adolescence, Exploring the Role of Social Networks and Gender, Holly Crudgington. And now for the Doctor of Philosophy in Social, Genetic and Developmental Psychiatry, for a thesis entitled Using Big Data in Eating Disorders to Disentangle Genes, Environment and Comorbidity, Helena Davis. And for a thesis entitled The Link Between Social Isolation and Mental Health from Childhood to Young Adulthood, Assessing Longitudinal Trends, Bidirectional Associations and Genetic Overlap, Catherine Nina Thompson. And now, for the Master of Science in Addiction, Melissa Lynn Hayes. Matthew Johnson. Margarita Koliva. And now the Master of Science in Affective Disorders, Yixum Daisy Law. Michalica Despina Trulli. And the Master of Science in Applied Neuroscience, Hannah Abadei. Fatima Aljara Al-Faraj. Rianne Arnad. Christine Marie Anco. Ashley Faith Bibby. Flavia Bonfadini. Emma Louise Brown. Alison Elliott. Noura Hassan. Anna Henry. Victoria Hinden Sandborg. David Keshek. Olwyn Lee. Mariam Oji Linda. Kayla McNichol. Eugenio Roman Mendoza. Rasha Omar Babika Muhammad. Jodie Odgers. Kai Wen Ong. Simon Samuel Phillip. Nicola Ramsey Treese. Stephanie Ressel. Lee Rimmer. Sarah Robertson. Mariam Sadehi. And also awarded the Associateship of King's College, Deirdre Sigrid Sims. Also awarded the Associateship of King's College, Augustine Tan. Long Xing Zi. Tom Oscar van der Meer. Perina Karen Clark Williams. Lee Harrison Wilson. Christina Cynthia Woolner. Choi Ying Yun. And now, the Master of Science in Child and Adolescent Mental Health, Priyanka Srikanthalpuram. And for the Master of Science in Clinical Neurodevelopmental Sciences, Sarah Al-Sulaiti. Eleonora Alexia Lucia Chiazza. Emma Elizabeth Rose Anstis Fletcher. Ria Kanwa. Olivia June Mitchener. And now, for the Master of Science in Clinical Neuroscience, Karolina Vasiliki Nantalmaka. Serafina Rosso. And now, for the Master of Science in Developmental Psychology and Psychopathology, Wendy Koku. And for the Master of Science in Early Intervention in Psychosis, Wing Yang Ng. Marushia Vijay Raja. And for the Master of Science in Global Mental Health, Diana Rebecca Acosta Fossil. And for the Master of Science in Health Psychology, Diyui Do. Wai Ying Kwok. Jit Shah. And for the Master of Science in Mental Health Studies, Puluk Bhanushali. Isabella Neve Carter. Anuja Daoud. Tessa Pearl Ettinger. Sapphire Francis. Akila Anna Joseph. Abigail Louisa Knight. Yi Wan Lee. Neve Matthews. Matilda Lisa Tosland. Kritika Gulab Vasvani. And now, for the Master of Science in Neuroscience, Jasbar Kamar Ahmed. Nosheen Ezan. Xiaowei Hu. And now for the Master of Science in Neuroscience in Cognitive Neuroscience, Isi Ozarjan. For the Master of Science in Neuroscience in Neurodegeneration, Yanis Straloulias. For the Master of Science in Organizational Psychiatry and Psychology, Anoki Manishbai Amin. Kushki Chavla. Dhruti Rohit Chadha. Prachi Alpesh Chadha. Kushi Nilesh Kanrairiya. Dania Mahmood. Ruju Parak. Tanaya Unmesh Pendoyaka. Reem Prakash. Raksha Ramkumar. Nazneen Samir. Ananya Sharma. Patamaporn Tongsuti. And now, for the Master of Science in Psychiatric Research, Gabriela Arzio. Sarah Maria Bucci. Sharona Rees Sarkody. And now for the Master of Science in Psychology and Neuroscience of Mental Health, Catherine Ann Hale. And for the Master of Science in War and Psychiatry, Farhana Jasmine Khatun. Lazola Manny Stevens. And now for the Postgraduate Certificate in Child and Young Person IAP Supervision, Crystal Jade Fletcher. Zoe Catherine Good. Lakshmi Gopalak Krishnan. Pauline Thorpe. And now for the Postgraduate Certificate in Therapy Skills in Cognitive Behavioural Therapies and Psychosis, Yinka Adlarkin. Sasha Maria King. Kerry Trenfield. And for the Postgraduate Diploma in CYP MH Child Wellbeing Practice, Hadja Abada. Samia Awiyek. Jonathan Baines. Maisie Bellett. Simran Kaur Bamra. Katie Brockis. Fiona Brophy. Jessica Butler. Didia Collier. Leah Ford. Emily Kate Hicks. Jihan Hind Ikwan Fenir. Shanae Jackson Brown. Lucinda Kay. Darcy Kitchener. Rachel McCoy. Tasbia Mohammed Zaruddin. Priscilla Mumbongo. Karen Afori Boateng. Kende Esther Timitope Ogunbei. Alice Pierce. Bethany Grace Piper. Priya Shingadia. Sunya Fasahat Siddiqui. Eloise Stumpo. Estefania Vargas Clara. And now the postgraduate diploma in child and adolescent mental health, Tsing Tung Lee. And for the postgraduate diploma in child and young person IAP therapy, Judith Aqua. Malika Afzalikom. Rebecca May Ayers. Joanne Black. Rachel Buckingham. Michelle Butcher. Amy Byrne. Ashley Corden. Juma Dafikapu. Sarah Michelle DeSalvo. Dougali Madhat Fahim. Rebecca Fisher. Sam Sutherland Frudist. Nicola Claire Fuller. Alice Golding. Janae Goodridge Downer. Marie Hagan Asmuth. Fiona Keith. Liam Lawrence. Victoria Neela Limani. Sinead Elizabeth Murray. Simran Kaur Nahal. Francesca Casilda Peters. Lucy Roberts. Charlotte Melissa Tyler. Lydia Whiting. Grace Marina Willis. Choi Ching Wong. Jessica Lois Wynne-Pennells. And now the postgraduate diploma in cognitive behavioural therapies, Fatima Banji. Rebecca Barry. Jadara Cave. Grace Olandonjoye. Priscilla Owosu Anza. Ruth Parler.
We will now pause with presenting students to give Professor Mike Aiken-Deacon a break and to introduce our guest alumni speaker. 2013 IPPN graduate Mia Boykins is a seasoned global entrepreneur, award-winning humanitarian, and speaker specializing in forging global partnerships